My fellow Amazonians, good morning. This is Dr. Chua Yaba. This is my daily briefing on the 11th of July 2024. First, I'll begin with greetings to each and every one of you, and God bless each and every one of you. And thank you for your continuous sacrifices towards the attainment of our goal of full independence and freedom for our country. I begin today with reacting to a circulation. There was an audio message circulated yesterday declaring that Wednesdays will be days of lockdown in solidarity with Amazonian prisoners of war. This is a fake information. This has been circulated by agents of Yaoundé. They are trying to use this propaganda to undermine our different resistance actions and calls. Recall that when we instituted the no yellow color taxi, the first they attacked it, they held demonstrations, and then when they lost the battle, they declared that they are the ones who instituted it. So constantly they make a mockery of themselves. They are confused, they are desperate, and a drowning person would hang on to anything they see, even on a snake, in order to stay afloat. So it's a regime that is gone down like the Titanic, and they are engaged in repeated desperate actions, thinking that they can make a mockery of our resistance. Unfortunately, they are making a mockery of themselves. We have mastered communication. We are in self-defense. We are dealing with several sovereignty projects like a state. And so they must understand that this is a new generation with a new agenda and a new destination. So the way we show solidarity with our prisoners is continuously fight to ensure that the reason for which they went to jail is attained. Historically, days of solidarity have been called with detained compatriots. Sometimes if there is something that happens in jail, a prisoner dies or some other actions, and then we could think of a particular day of solidarity. Every day in Amazonia is a day of solidarity. Mondays are days of solidarity, not only with our prisoners, but also with our IDPs, our refugees, and the families of those who've lost loved ones. Anytime there is authentic communication, whether I agree with it or not, you will hear from me. And that's how you can get authenticity. But any audio message that is sent out there by desperate individuals, you drop them where they belong, the dustbin of history. The other day, I also signed an executive order banning land sales to citizens of Cameroon. This is a very serious issue, my people. I have said this in several outings. In every society, there are three factors of production. You have the land, you have the capital, or you have the labor. The most important factor of production for Amazonians is the land and the labor. And I know that our labor is cheap. Sometimes it's not even desired because the public sector, the private sector, they've all been dismantled. And so we use the labor we have to plow the fields, the land that we have. It has also become an asset for many Amazonians. They can use the land to get immediate capital for investment. And we have also realized that the enemy has made it difficult for transactions between individuals. And so they've intruded into it to certify, to legalize all of these land sales. And we have seen situations where La Republique colonial DOs and SDOs, the impostor mayors and others have become part and parcel of a cartel that is transferring Amazonian land to Cameroon citizens. They have higher buying power. Even our Biafran compatriots who are in also have higher buying power than us. And I encourage Amazonians to preserve their land. It doesn't mean you cannot sell a piece of land. But you should think seriously, very seriously, because that is the only asset you have that is non-perishable. It, it increases in value with time. I know there are families that are struggling, and sometimes you really need to sell that piece of land to even have an operation. And so you need to do it. But don't sell your piece of land to a Cameroon citizen. They are deliberately acquiring Amazonian land to alter the demographic dynamics and to be able to use it in the future against us. That's how Zimbabwe almost collapsed. That's what South Africa is going through now. So we must learn from history. Secondly, we have also noticed that there are family fights and quarrels because of land. Powerful individuals, they use colonial elements to acquire family lands and sell them to whosoever. We have engaged, introduced ourselves in some. But going forward, all land disputes should be reported to quarterheads. And when they cannot be resolved, they will be reported to our forces or the ATLA, the Liberation Transitional Authorities within your area, and we will deal with it. Any land sale that we see announced, we will investigate it. And if we find that they're violating liberation laws by selling to La République, or powerful individuals within those families are using their power in association with collaborating with the enemy, we will put an injunction on the sale of those lands. Anybody who sells the land to citizen of La République will acquire that land after we gain our total freedom. And there will be consequences on every individual. The other issue I'd like to talk about, I think you people must have read some fake newspapers and lawsuits against Norway. I'll focus on Norway because against myself is not something I talk about. Education is critical. And so when you see these things, I know people were worried when they read that, I have been taken to court in the US with the Norwegian Prime Minister. It's a joke, my people. It's a joke. It's almost like the joke I told you about the desperate attempts to institute days of actions to undermine, our critical activities. There are US laws. There are US laws that permit civil lawsuits against individuals who have engaged in sponsoring or what they call abetting acts of international terrorism that occurs on US soil. And I want you to know this. So Section 3 of that law authorizes the federal court jurisdiction, over a civil claim, against any foreign state or for physical injury to a person or property or death that occurs inside the US as a result of international terrorism. And this law is very specific. It only works and functions on the premise that the act of that international terrorism occurs within the United States of America. That's number one. Number two, it does not occur during war. So, and number three, it is perpetrated by a designated organization that has been designated as an international terrorist organization. So these are three conditions you must understand. There is an existing law for civil law claims against individuals or institutions that are perceived to conspire to commit, aid, or abet, acts of international terrorism that causes death, injury to humans or property. It must occur in the United States. That's number one. Number two, the law is also very clear about the fact that the act must have been committed by a designated international terrorist organization. The US usually designates groups as terrorist organization. No Amazonian group has been designated as a terrorist organization. And it must occur not in times of war. So when you read these lawsuits, there are a couple of things that you must understand. And I don't want to get into. I think our spokespersons and individuals have dealt with the different actors and their underlying claim. But as a leader, what I want to talk to you about is for you to see the acts of desperation. First, we didn't exist. First, Ayaba did not exist. Then they gave him a name. He's a terrorist, and then they tried to negotiate with him. You can't be confused. You have to be clear. If you fight in a war, you want to occupy my land, you have to be clear. When you start showing these things, I see you being desperate. You're looking for help. You put pressure on different countries to transfer me down. I don't know if they can keep me in Yaoundé. Maybe if Norway says tomorrow that they are going to hand me over to them, they'll surely drop me from the sea. They can't lock me in a jail. They can't, except, I don't know. I'm not God, but I hate these people to the point where I don't think they can keep me in a jail. So they will drop me from the sky down into the Atlantic Ocean for me to die immediately. That one they should know. And so when I look at these things, I am not worried. I speak about these things because I know they use misinformation, they use intoxication and propaganda. Their aim is to weaken your resolve. Don't be afraid. If I drop today, you will continue. Kuva dropped. Asonganye dropped. Abombi dropped. Ivo dropped. Efang dropped. Piti dropped. The war is on. This is not a war by Ayaba. It's a war by the Ambazonian people who have become conscious of what is happening to them and have taken a firm stance. So I want you to not to be afraid. This is a season of resistance against a known enemy. Secondly, there is an analysis about Ambazonians having been detained. There is no Ambazonian who has been detained, who has gone to jail out here because they are involved in the struggle. Ambazonians, there are Ambazonians in the United States, including known persons like Mamangam, who are in jail because they violated United States law. They violated US laws. No matter how just your cause is. And I had cited the shipment of weapons into Iran, I think under President Reagan. It was illegal. And the president himself was, I think, investigated for violating US law. Once you are in the United States, you are not allowed without permission to ship any kind of weapons anywhere. Whether for good causes, bad causes, whether you are the president, whether you are the foreign minister, you are not allowed. You do that illegally, you'll be held accountable. That is what has happened to Ambazonians. Everywhere there are laws against money laundering. So if you are in the US or wherever in Europe and you are moving large amount of money that are not declared, that doesn't go through systems that are seen as monitored, then you can be charged for money laundering. It has nothing to do with the war. It has nothing to do with the purpose for which the money was being transferred. So if you are sending funds or money into designated organizations that have been designated as terrorist organizations, you will be violating, the Anti-Terrorism Act. So these are things that, these buffoons, this what I call church and bay lawyers have been going around and propagating, trying to frighten you people. We are not frightened by war tanks. The 12 of them entered Momo last night. And thousands of forces. We are not frightened by them. I will be frightened by lawsuit. These guys have lost every suit they have filed. Every suit, except the one they filed at the ICJ on their claim to owning Bakassi, because Bakassi is ours. If you review the case laws of the Human Rights Committee and other jurisprudences, you would find that Ambazonians have defeated them. Gorgie versus Cameroon, Albert versus Cameroon, Akwanga versus Cameroon, Titi Ahonjo versus Cameroon. All of these things, they defeated these enemies. They don't even know how to argue submissions. in one of their submissions at the Human Rights Committee, and that was very laughable. They don't understand law. The premise of individuals jumping jurisdiction, for example, if your rights are violated, then you can decide to move the case to, let's say, the Human Rights Committee under the ICCRP. You can only do that if you've exhausted domestic remedy, and it is very clear that the presence of domestic remedy is not enough to prevent somebody jumping jurisdiction. It must show that it is effective, and that it doesn't last forever. And in most of their submissions, their argument is like being made by people from the street. That's why they don't win any case. So we should not be afraid, my people. If there is anybody to be charged in any court of law, and we've captured these in a manifesto, and I'll read a section to you, which is important. If there is any person in this conflict to be charged, it is not Ambazonia, it is not Dr. Choi, but it's not any Ambazonian. It's La République and the Atangangis and all those who have worked to murder thousands of Ambazonians. And we captured this in the matters of law and justice. La République du Cameroon, having invaded and occupied the Ambazonian territory in September 1961, and after dissolving all executive and legislative institutions of Ambazonia in the manner of tyrants, has violated the territorial integrity of Ambazonia, has scorned and violated the laws of all people of the world, including but not limited to the right to self-determination enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, United Nations General Assembly Resolution 1514, paragraph 15 of 14 December 1960, that affirms the right of all peoples to their sovereignty. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, which stipulates the Ambazonians' rights to found a nation and name a nation, and UN General Assembly Resolution 26, paragraph 25, subsection 25 of 24th October 1970, that further affirms the right of the Ambazonian people to establish their sovereign and independent state as a mode of expression of their right of self-determination. By its illegal occupation of Ambazonia in 1961, despite democratic protests and legal actions, and declaration of war on the people of Ambazonia on November 30, 2017, against the aspirations of the Ambazonian people to their sovereignty, Cameroon has proven itself as an aggressor and has, by this forceful occupation, enforced her presence by ruthless continuous massacres of thousands of the Ambazonian people and razings of tens of thousands of their homes and hundreds of thousands of towns and villages, thus displacing millions of our people who are currently scattered all over the world and depriving thousands of children of the right to education. So if there is anyone to be brought before a court of law for acts of terrorism, aggression in violation of UN Charter, and acts of deprivation of liberty in illegal incarceration, acts of rendition in kidnapping Ambazonians from foreign countries and illegally transferring them, and acts of trying Ambazonians under military courts as civilians, and crimes against humanity, which includes systematic torture, rape as a weapon of war crimes, which include burning of villages, burning of places, and all what you have, and genocide, the intent to eliminate physically part or whole of our people, has been demonstrated in very clear cases. The intent has been proven in their systematic attack on young Ambazonian males, capturing of commanders, burning of their remains, killing in Gabo, and burning of the remains of young girls who are the future of Ambazonia. So if there is anybody to be arraigned in front of a court of law, it will be Cameroon. But because of the international conspiracy against our people, The court of law is the battlefields across the 13 states of Amazonia. And prevail we have, and we must have hope, and we must be resilient, we must not be afraid. We own that land. They don't. We are more powerful. They aren't.